Happy Peeps, healthy chat, it's Peepschat. Assalamualaikum, I am Arisha.
And I am Nikki, and welcome to the seventh episode of this season's Peeps Chat Show.
So, for today's episode, as you guys can tell, I just did the sign language. So, our
Mm-hmm.
topic for tonight is sign language, basic for all, where we have two guests who will enlighten all of you about sign language and also two interpreters here.
Mm-hmm. So, without any more delay, why don't we welcome our guest for tonight's episode? So, first of all, we have Sister Aisah. Hi, Sister Aisah. How are you doing?
Hi, Assalamualaikum. I'm fine, thank you.
Waalaikumsalam.
What about you
Okay.
guys?
Oh,
Alhamdulillah, doing
Alhamdulillah.
great.
How do you sign Alhamdulillah if there's any
Oh my
way
god, is
to?
it correct, Miss Reda? Like this? Okay.
Actually,
Okay.
ooh, okay. So yeah, Alhamdulillah,
Oh,
I'm good.
yeah.
Thank you for asking. So if you don't mind, could you please introduce yourself a bit, Sister Aisa?
My name is Siti Aisah binti Salmin. So currently I am an IIUM student in IIUM Kuantan in plant science degree, and I am one of the tutor for IMAC IIUM Kuantan in Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia.
All right. So
Only a
thank you for
passive
your
tutor.
introduction. It's okay. Even if basic, it's still something. Okay, so as you guys can see, we have two other guests, very beautiful guests. We have Miss Zuraida and also Miss Go, who will actually help interpret for our next guest, but sadly, he's not here yet. But nonetheless, we still want them to introduce themselves. So maybe I'll have Miss Go to introduce herself first.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Go. This is my sign name Go. I'm a sign language interpreter working with the Malaysian Federation of the Deaf. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Go. All right. So
Great.
since we already know Miss Go, why don't we get to know the other beautiful interpreter we have with us, which is Miss Zuraida. Could you please introduce yourself?
Assalamualaikum
Walaikum
warahmatullahi taala
salam.
wabarakatuh. Good evening, everyone. My name is Zuraida. So I'm senior sign language interpreter and the what do you call that? The head of the section of sign language interpreting services under Malaysian Federation of the Deaf.
Mhm.
So I am an interpreter myself.
All
So it's actually
right.
nice to have all of you tonight to share and also to
Mhm.
get some inputs.
It's nice to
Yes.
Thank
have
you very much.
everyone here with us tonight. Thank you
Yes.
for being here
Thank
with
you
us
for being here.
tonight.
Yeah. All right. So before we proceed with the interview, number one, do not forget to give this video a big old thumbs up. And number two is to, I would just want to remind the viewers out there that if you have any questions to ask to our guests here, feel free to type it out in the chat section. And if you have enough time, inshallah, we will have both Mr. Sazali and Sister Aisha also maybe two of our interpreter to answer your questions. Okay.
All
All right.
right. So without further ado, can we dive into our first question already? Is everyone ready? Okay, so my first question is actually going to be directed to Ms. Raida. It's going to be a very general question. So, Ms. Raida, can you please explain a bit about sign language, like what it is, what is the meaning of it, and also what type of sign language is used by the majority of the deaf community to communicate right here in Malaysia?
Okay, thank you very much. Wow. Right. First question first. Yeah, the local sign language that is been endorsed and recognized and used widely here in our country is the Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia, or in short, it's known as BIM. Yeah. So if you notice that even the acronym that we use, Jurubahasa BIM, yeah, on the screen,
All
yeah.
right.
So
Mm-hmm.
basically, yeah, we are sign language, Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia, sign language interpreter of Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that people won't get confused, like yep. There are other, I mean, like other countries, they have their own sign.
Yeah.
So, like for us, we are more kind of like prone to use Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia than any other sign.
Sign
But there are
language.
some, yeah, some root signs that belongs to American sign that has been incorporated much earlier
Mm-hmm.
before BIM is been enacted as like in the bill of Akta OKU 2008 is the language for the deaf, official language for the deaf in the country.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. So, different countries have different sign language, but there are some that are rooted from ASL, which is American Sign Language, right?
Yes,
All
exactly.
right.
We're trying
Okay,
to
but
do
here
away
in
with it
Malaysia.
slowly.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
meaning that
but
sign language have many like languages. I mean signs based on the nations, countries.
Yes, because it has got the influence of culture and way of life,
mhm.
for the people in that particular country.
All right. Interesting.
Yeah,
So sign
Very,
language is very macam mana orang kata is very macam versatile macam tu.
yeah, yeah, you're right.
Okay. So
okay, I have a question to Sister Aisha here. Um, since when you have been involved in sign language and what makes you so passionate about it?
I think that the first time that I learned sign language was back then when I was in 2019. That time was actually I joined a program with IMAC, teach learning sign language, and the one that teaching us is actually deaf people. So to be able to gain the experiences with communicating with them is really fun. And I think what makes me becomes more passionate is whenever I meet I don't meet deaf people a lot, right? But then whenever I meet them, and then I just try a little bit of sign language, and the expression, it just makes me feel happy and very satisfying. It's just they very appreciate our effort in learning the language itself. So it makes
mm,
me to feel like I want to study more and I want to learn more.
all right. Very interesting. So you started 2 years ago and are you still learning right now?
um Still learning, but not like religiously, but yeah.
All right. So do you use sign language a lot? Like on a daily basis ke?
Not really, actually, not really.
Mhm. Okay, so our next question is that actually for Mr. Sazali, but since he's not here, then I guess we're gonna have Miss Zuraida to answer it. But people always assume that sign language only uses hand movements. And do you think it's a myth? And like, macam mana orang kata, like, is there any other myth about sign language in your opinion?
Oh, okay. When you talk about myth, yep, yep, there are, kind of like, it's more of like, to me, I felt that the understanding actually, if people can really understand, like, what is sign language is all about, or where, and I mean, like, which are the, I mean, the community that are using, and also to respect that it's their language or it's their mother tongue, but not looking or having kind of like misconception on certain things. But some people do say like, oh, Malaysian Sign Language, it's universal. So is it like, no, it's not universal because we have our own culture where it's like, if let's say for wedding, yeah, for
Mhm.
the Malays, we do have our culture of bersanding. So we'll sign it
Mhm.
this way. Yeah, and then
Ah.
for the Chinese, they have the tea ceremony that they serve, so they signed this way for marriage. Yeah,
Mm.
and for the Indian community, it's because of tying tali, so we have to use that. So it's more of like we have to respect each culture, each situation of that
Mhm.
particular group, and we have to apply. We can't just like, usually what Mr. Sazali always use for example is that like if I want to ask a Muslim friend, say, are you going for salat? So we'll be signing like this. But if, let's say, for any other races, obviously they don't perform their salat the way that we do, yeah. So we kind of like follow their ways, like Christian and others, like the Chinese, and also we have to respect, and it's all,
Yeah.
in fact, it's yeah, in the curriculum of the sign language itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's like, if people, or I mean, like, generally, if everyone say that, like, right now where government is going for inclusiveness, yeah, keluarga Malaysia, yeah, we make it happen by actually everyone starts to learn and starts to get to know about this bahasa isyarat Malaysia,
True.
starts to build up their language and skill. Because to me, it's like being, I mean, for a deaf person, if that we as a hearing person could actually communicate or could use sign language, they are so happy. So, and they're so happy in a sense that they don't really bother whether you kind of like you're really kind of mastering or skill with it. But if you can sign and you can communicate and start to communicate with them, and they're kind of like amazed, and it's like, oh, okay, so there is, like, you're welcome at the place, or you're also welcome as an individual, as a human being. You're accepted. That's where you are, rather than, like, being alone, looking at everyone speaking, but no one is actually signing or do something to actually get the person to be involved. Yeah. So that inclusivity is actually it's the in thing now, where everyone could be, could think of, learning sign language as much as you can.
All right. So we have a lot more questions to ask to all of our guests here tonight, but why don't we actually take a break first? So stay tuned only on Peeps Chat by IIM TV. I didn't know there were actually 5 hours.
I fixed it to pornography. Don't recycling at your fire.
Wow.
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 I am Aisha.
And I'm Nikki.
Happy Tips.
Healthy Chat. Thumbs up.
Happy Peeps, healthy chat. Welcome back to Peeps Chat, everyone, where we have not one, but I think 3 special guests to discuss the topic sign language, basic for all. Let's welcome back Miss Go, Sister Aisah, and where is Miss Raida? It's okay. All right, so I have a question to Sister Aisah here. So based on our topic, sign language, so the basics of life. In your opinion, why should sign language be aided to in our basic lives?
I think it's simply because we are able to get connected with deaf community as it is. I mean, if you learn a new language, then automatically you will be able to get connected with different kind of people, different kind of stories. So it's the same thing as, when you learn sign language, you're able to get connected more with deaf people. It's not the same as, when you do not know the sign language and when you know the sign language, it can give you a different kind of connection. When you know about the
Yes.
sign language itself. And also, I think one of the thing is, it show how concerned and how you care about Malaysians with which is deaf. You're not just thinking about people that, I mean, you're concerned and show your care about them, and it's just it for me to be able to communicate with them.
I see. So it is, in my, is it correct that it is as if you are learning the new language, and it's new for you, it's very interesting for you, it's refreshing for you, and also it's as if like you are learning a new culture. Am I correct? What do you think, sisters?
I- this is for my own for my personal opinion lah. I do not know about new culture because I've never experienced it, but you can definitely just get connected and learn more about their background stories. And sometimes you can be more understanding about people with deaf punya condition, about what their experiences in their life, the kind of adversity that they may have, or challenges that they may have whenever uh, when they actually deaf.
I see. So, Teresa, do you have any like recommendation for like website or classes to join for those who want to start learning sign language? And I just want to know that how long does it take for you to become fluent in sign language?
You asking me about that?
Yes.
Okay, for a recommendation, I must say that actually there are several. Back then when I was in 2019, I cannot find any, especially not like cannot find any, but it's very scarce. Only ASL available in YouTube for me. But then nowadays I can find several YouTubers in the YouTube. Hannah Hansign. If you love to learn languages through song, you can go for that because she always do cover about song in sign language Malaysia. And then yeah,
Interesting.
like Miss Go mentioned just now, we have like what do we
Oh, the
call?
Bank
Yeah,
Islam.
BIM.
Sorry.
Bang Islam. BIM sign
Bahasa.
language.
Yeah.
BIM sign,
Sorry.
bank sign, right?
Yeah,
BIM
BIM
bank
sign
sign.
sign bank.
Sign bank. Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh, hi, Encik
Sorry.
Mohamad Sazali. Okay.
All
Very
right. So as you
coincident.
guys can see, our guest, Mr. Sazali, is here. So if you don't mind, Mr. Sazali, could you please introduce yourself a bit for our guests, for our viewers out there? I'm sorry.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Very good evening, everyone. My name is Mohamad Sazali, and this is my sign name. I am deaf myself, and I have two sign language interpreters on duty for me tonight. Thank you very much for the invitation tonight for this program. And oh, sorry, I forgot to introduce. At the same time, I'm the president of the Malaysian Federation of the Deaf.
Wow.
So MFD in short is also known as the MFD is a national organization with approximately about 14 affiliations, members at state level. So we're more looking at the well-being, welfare, and also the standard of living for the deaf people in the country. And we're actually more into advocacy to make sure that there is communication accessibility and to make sure that also sign language interpreting services are made available. Besides other factors that are affecting people in life here generally in our country. So to share with you also that we've been established for approximately about 25 years. So for 25 years, there are a lot of things that we've done, but we remain to be the voice, yeah, and the mandate for the athletes, of 15 athletes throughout the country.
Wow.
So that's the actually the main role played by us as national organization. It's like being the voice, yeah, for them to bring it up to government level. But we never gave up. There's a lot of things to do. There's a lot of issues to to solve and all.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like the most important thing is to create greater awareness about deaf community, as like what you're doing right now.
Ah, all right. Thank you for that lovely introduction, Mr. Sazali. So, without further ado, I'm just going to straight away ask you a question. So, Mr. Sazali, do you have any tips for those who wants to learn sign language? Perhaps the do's and don'ts.
For those who are really keen in learning sign language, it's like, I would say that you're most welcome to learn the language
Mm-hmm.
because deaf people, as one of us are aware of, we cannot hear.
Mm-hmm. True.
And, when you're unable to hear, it's always a barrier for you to obtain communication and also information. So if let's say what's happening around, who would actually be communicating to us? So, and if we have ideas, how do we actually share or, let everyone knows about the idea?
Mm-hmm.
So if a lot of people out there, non-deaf people or the hearing community would like to learn or have the interest and passion to learn sign language, I just hope that they would be doing it in because obviously with the aim of like building up a bridge of communication and indirectly helping us to build up a better life.
Wow.
And it's, I would say, like more of like tips on how to learn, yeah, sign language.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Sign language, we are all the user of Bahasa Isyarat Malaysia, BIM in short, yeah. That's our national sign language.
Mm-hmm.
So and knowing that sign language is not a spoken language, it's a visual language. So how do you actually fulfill that, to communicate using visual language? So one of it that you have to remember that it's, sign language is just like any other language. Yeah, it's equivalent actually. It has got
Mm-hmm.
its own syntax and its own structure and grammar. And
Yes.
if let's say we, as I mean, like for a hearing person, right, you'll be speaking as a standard spoken language. So let's say if you want to say training cats and dog, what does it mean? It's like to us it'd be like training cats and dog. So you can kind of like interpret or signing it by saying it's raining heavily because they're going like cats and dogs. So their imagination would be, it's raining cats and dog.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also it's when you want to relate, it's because the language is a visual language.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be good to be very clear and specified, but not to think of the language structure itself. And if you want to learn it effectively, it's uh, it's best to get or to learn it from a deaf teacher, because a non-deaf teacher would be I mean like kind of like prone to use vocal or voice, but when a deaf person it'd be different because we fall to, I mean we're more with expressions and signing.
I see.
I see. All
That's
right. Thank you so
really
much for
good
those
tips, right?
tips. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a
Very
really good
great
tips.
tips for us.
All right, so I
Okay.
have a question to Sister Aisha here. Since just now Mrs. Hazali just told us the tips on how to learn. So what are the basics of sign language that maybe everyone needs to know to encounter with deaf people?
Oh my, you are asking me in front of this jurubahasa, you know? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. First one, I think it's a simple one, which is the hi. Hi,
Mm-hmm.
just
Hi.
like this. Okay. And then I think Assalamualaikum, you know, for
Exactly,
Muslim.
just now, right?
Yeah,
Like
it's
this?
gonna be like this and this. Yeah. This.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
And wa alaikum assalam is like this.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Maalaikum salam.
Just like
Ah,
that.
okay. All right.
And of course, thank you.
Wow.
Okay. Don't do flying keys.
Thank
Okay,
you.
we must have that.
Cannot,
All
cannot.
right. So the correct way is do this. Don't do flying kiss to random people, guys.
Yeah. Or else they'll get misunderstood.
Exactly.
Mhm. All
If
right.
I do
I'm
Okay.
sorry,
this,
So
can
thank
you
maybe.
Sazali, sorry, can you Sazali add a bit?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, like we as a human, we kind of like, we don't realize it, subconsciously, we're actually applying or using sign language as we, do things, as we're involved with activities or what we're doing. Because if like, let me just ask here, yeah, how do you actually sign makan or eating?
Like
like
How do you,
this.
this.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the way, that's how we actually, use when we eat. So if, let's say, for minum or drinking, so
Like this.
what do you
Right.
think the most appropriate?
Like
Like
this.
this.
Yeah, yeah. Some will sign it this way or the other way. So I think that one will kind of like, you do not go for the class to kind of like to learn that, but subconsciously you're actually applying, and you can actually see the similarity with the concept, yeah, of doing
Mm.
things.
All
So it's
right.
much that's why I don't really agree when people say it's difficult to learn sign language. I don't think so, because the most important thing is like, you're focused on, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like learning the new vocabulary. But other than
Mm-hmm.
that, it's much more easy because it's related to our daily tasks.
And we've been doing it since we were little. Like we want to eat, we want to drink. So it's fairly simple. So it's not really that hard. So I understand what Miss Raida and also Mr. Sazali is trying to say. But
Yes.
uh thank you so much to both Sister Aisa, to Miss Raida, Miss Go, and also Mr. Sazali for teaching us some of the basics of sign
Right.
languages.
Yes. So before we further discuss the topic sign language, basic for all, with two of our special guests, why don't we take another break? We'll be back only on Peepschat by IIUM TV.
I didn't know there were actually 5 hours.
I fixed it to pornography. Don't recycling at your fire.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
I am Arisha.
And I'm Nikki.
Happy Pips.
Healthy chat.
like for us.
Happy peeps, healthy chat. Welcome back to the seventh episode of this season's Peeps Chat show. So, if you guys don't know yet, the topic for tonight's episode is sign language basic for all, where we have not one but a lot of special guests joining us tonight. And just now, we already learned a few basic sign language like hi, assalamu alaikum, and thank you.
Thank you.
So, mm-hmm.
Yes. So
Don't mistake it with a slight
okay,
to
sure,
skin.
sure. I will not mistaken this. I will just do this.
Mhm,
Thank you. Right. So
mhm.
I have a question to Mr. Sazali. Um, so does learning sign language can be used as a skill which can increase the quality of a graduate?
For the hearing graduates, definitely there will be lots of benefits. You know, why do I say so? Because university graduates, you know, in the future, you guys will be, you know, maybe a leader of country. You know, you could be one of the leaders. You could be professionals. You could also be, professionals who are involved and working closely with the community. Yeah, take for example, if let's say a deaf person come and meet you, you know, if you are in the line of work that is actually dealing directly with them, it's like on medical aspect and all. So if the person is not well and come and see you, you know, you as a medical professional, how are you going to treat that patient of yours? So the patient could not hear you, could not, convey to you. It's like, you know, so it's good that, you know, if you learn, you have the basic now and equip yourself and get used to it. And you will know that, you know, somehow or other, you will meet, you know, people in life. And you don't actually think that if you're working in the area of, let's say, as an engineer itself, so you won't be able to meet them. You might be meeting them, which you also never know, right? So it's so important first, like, you know, if you understand, you know, what I mean, understand about the deaf people, you understand about their needs, understand about the community. And, you know, as people, you know, you're architect or engineer or, you know, those in that line would be wondering also, would be thinking or have it in mind that if I am going to build up this particular building or a house, so if it's going to kind of like the buyer or person who's going to stay in here are deaf, so how do I overcome the issue if like there's fire, if, you know, the sound of the doorbell, if you put the doorbell, so what could be, you know, incorporated or replace the usual things that you have in order to fulfill the needs. Yeah, and then if you want to, you know, for the person to enter into the condominium or the apartments, how do you make it accessible for, you know, this kind of community? So in like, you know, for example, in America, they encourage a student to actually learn their national sign language as part of their elective, and also, sorry, they make it compulsory, you know, also for them to choose as like languages, foreign languages for them to learn. So ASL is one of it.
Mhm.
So from there, they start to learn about the community. They start to learn about the language, very basic, you know, sign language, and it benefits them a lot. You know, not only during that time, but in the future, they could apply that.
Oh,
So why not? Since UIAM has got sign language class running as a
true.
co-curriculum section,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe first I would like to congratulate because you're the first university that moved on with co-curriculum and
Ooh.
moving on well till now.
Oh, okay. So we're actually one of the first institutes to have sign language as a curriculum course. Is that true?
Yes, yes. I mean, like other university, they do have like as elective subject.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but for co-curriculum, it's like for the whole university student is
Mm-hmm.
UIAM because Prof. Dr. Rosita also encourages, and she kind of like she herself also came, and learned sign language, basic sign language,
Wow.
and after that, we're encouraging more and more students.
Mm-hmm. All right. So thank you so much, Mr. Sazali, for your answer. So I actually have a next question for Sister Aisa. So, in if more people learn and are fluent in sign language, what do you think are the positive changes that we might see, perhaps in terms of services such as medicine or even public transport?
Okay, so I think that one of the positive changes is that forest is forest for the verbal people. They will be able to become more understanding to deaf community people. And for deaf community people, I think that I might not know this, but maybe increase the accessibility or the freedom for them to to go and speak. Like they don't, because I often see people, deaf community, deaf people, they will always be accompanied with other people so that they can communicate with others, like the rest of the community. So maybe if we are able to increase in terms of the fluency of the sign language itself, they don't for a daily basis punya activity, they might not really not really need a company. They can go freely and freedomly out there. And for us itself, we can become more understanding, like what Cik Hazali said just now. We
Mm-hmm.
can be more understanding in terms of, for example, if like service for doctors, we are able to understand our patients even further. Okay, and also for engineering, building a house or something, we're able to understand what they need more even further. Those kind of stuff.
All right. So it would be beneficial for a lot of people if a lot of us learn sign language. Is that true?
Yeah, precisely.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
There's
so
Very
nothing
my
wrong
next
with learning.
All right. So my next question is actually going to be directed to Mr. Sazali, which also happens to be our last question for tonight. So, Mr. Sazali, we are aware that the subject of sign language is still not provided in most schools in Malaysia. So, obviously, that students who want to learn this language might come from various age groups. Is the method of learning for all these age groups the same? And are there any pros and cons of learning it through a virtual platform such as BIM Sign Bank?
okay. So if you were to follow the usual thing that we always hear, that or in Bahasa we have that saying as kalau nak lentur rebung dari tak maaf. I lost the word.
Oh, kalau nak lentur bodoh biar dari rebungnya.
Yes, yes, sorry, dari
Ah,
rebung. Tak maaf, tak maaf. I was like
it's
trying to find it
okay.
in English. It doesn't. Okay. Um, so it will be very appropriate if you say that we should begin with the children first. We're going to start very at a very early age. That is more
Yes.
uh, proper because psychologically they begin to understand. Psychologically they are kind of like inclined and inquisitive to know. And let's say, oh, okay, the deaf, they can't hear, so they are actually communicating using this language. I mean, for sure they are rather inquisitive themselves, like, oh, when they can't hear, how do they communicate? So when we introduce sign language at a very early age, yeah, and then I mean, I do notice that in some curriculum or the textbook, they do actually have alphabets in finger spelling from A to Z. So this might actually, in a way, would kind of like make them keen and also interested to learn and to know that kind of thing. Slowly you build up the interest, and we don't want it to stop just there. We want it to kind of like continuously prolong so that they can actually have more of it. Because when you talk about inclusion or integration, yeah, so when there's a lot of integration program in the schools, and our children, our hearing children, would not feel awkward by having another student who is deaf using sign language. So and perhaps from there they would kind of like have more interest, or kind of like build that interest of like they learned it before. That would be more, to me, is like much more positive. And being or having a chance to meet other a category of disability would be a good thing for our children. And at the primary school level, I totally agree that it's a good way to be able to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And well, we cannot deny the fact that the community at large right now do not understand, do not know much about sign language. So I take it as like our promotional part of it has not been actually pretty strong for that.
Mm.
And when they actually view that on TV, they say, "Oh, okay, the sign language interpreters that appear for the prime news, or they're using sign language." But
Yes.
to them, it's like sometimes they felt it's funny because it's small, and sometimes when it's like over expressively interpreted, also they felt like, it's fun, and they take it on TikTok and things like that. Because to them, that they are not viewing it, a language as a language itself. So
Mm.
yeah, there are a lot of works to be done. We need to promote. We need to actually find some solution how we can expand and spread out the understanding. But I would very much agree that at a very early age, at the younger generation, these are actually the best target group. Yeah, and it's really good if you want to learn. I know about sign language. You want to know about anything about sign language or the deaf community. You could always get in touch with our organization, because we do have online classes. We do have classes that we have either hybrid or physical. Even on open learning platform and all.
Mhm. All right. So I totally agree because I never learned sign language as a child, and even right now, I find difficulty to understand what the interpreters are actually signing. But I am actually more keen to learn sign language starting from now, inshallah.
Yeah,
All
me
right.
too,
So
Nikki.
mhm. So before we end the show, Mr. Sazali and also Sister Aisa, do you have any last words for the viewer? Why don't we start with Sister Aisa first?
Okay, so my last word. I would say that learning sign language. For you who might not know,
Mhm.
it's actually a very fun thing to do, and it's
Yeah.
actually quite easy. I'm not saying that it's very easy, but then it's quite easy, and also you can practice it whenever you learn a certain sign language. You can automatically just uh, you speak with other people, and then you can also do that sign language for you to practice as well. So I think it's not gonna be that hard for you to learn that, and just go for it. I must
All
say that
right.
that's my last
Thank
word.
you. Thank you, Sister Aisa, for that very motivational last words. How about Mr. Sazali? Do you have anything you want to promote, such as BIM Sign Bank, or any last words that you want to uh, tell the viewers out there?
Thank you, thank you. It's as I always mention that, we're deaf, but we're also citizen of the country.
True.
So if everyone could actually take us as like, part of the community, and we are actually being inclusive. Yeah, and it's a great honor if everyone could actually understand about the community, how the way we communicate. So it'd be, we'd be really grateful. Shukr, alhamdulillah, because that actually helps a lot in not only in communicating, but to be as our companion or friends.
Mm. All right.
And and also it's like by being able to communicate, you could actually do a lot of things. You could relate to us what's happening around us. You could guide us, something that we need to know pertaining to life, the good things, the things that you cannot do. So anything with regards to religion or even generally.
Mhm.
So, and also you're kind of like, putting us in together, but not segregating us, to one corner.
True.
So, if we find that communication is a barrier, but find a solution to it, you will make it a better place for us. It would be really be peaceful and great, if everyone could communicate, because that is actually, the key to happiness is like, being able to communicate with others.
Mm.
Yep. Thank you so
All
much
right.
once again.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sazali, for that. Very inspirational and insightful for us, actually. Arisha?
I'm sorry. And I think, in my opinion, it's a motivation for me to learn sign
Mm-hmm.
language. Yes,
True.
inshallah, I will do that if I could,
Have the
inshallah.
time and means to, inshallah.
Yes, inshallah. So, thank you so much to both Mr. Sazali and also Sister Aisha for sparing your precious time and agreeing to join our humble show and sharing a lot of insightful information on sign language.
And thank you, all the viewers out there, for tuning in to tonight's episode of Peeps Chat.
Before we end the show, do not forget to give tonight's episode a big thumbs up and do not forget to catch us live every Thursday at 9 p.m. on IIUM TV's YouTube channel and also Facebook page.
Last but not least, don't forget to follow IIM TV on our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and also LinkedIn.
We will see you again next week with a new interesting topic and new guests. Do not forget to stay safe and abide by the SOPs. I am Arisha.
And I am Nikki, only on Happy Peeps Healthy Chat. It's Peeps Chat by IIM TV. Assalamualaikum and good night, everyone.
So,
Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum.